all day today, I've been looking on Facebook, I've been looking on Twitter, and I've been watching this goat rodeo of a primary slap fight its way out towards New Hampshire. There were a lot of people who were shocked when I came out and said who my preference for the Republican presidential candidate was. I came out and I decided to support Ted Cruz. Of course, me supporting Ted Cruz doesn't mean that I hate Marco Rubio or that I hate Donald Trump, although I am incredibly disappointed in both Donald Trump and Sarah Palin after all of these accusations accusing Cruz of playing some dirty tricks. He's accusing Cruz of fraud. You know this, right? Today, he started it, and I called this last night. I called it. If you followed me on Twitter, a full 24 hours ago, I had called this. I said, watch. Donald Trump is going to cite Ben Carson whining about his campaign person, opening their mouth, running their mouth to CNN, because apparently no one in Ben Carson's campaign has ever heard of the word embargo, and tell CNN, well, he's going to go and take a little bit of a break, and he's going to go home for some R&R, and then he's going to go to the prayer breakfast. Well, what happens when you say something like that, particularly minutes? And I'm talking about minutes. Look, I have no life. I was sitting in front of my computer watching Iowa's Secretary of State website, looking at all of the totals coming in, monitoring exit polls, looking at county by county. I live and I breathe data. That's what I do. People sleep, I wait. I look at data. I eat it up. I need data, and I need numbers like this, like a solar-powered calculator needs light to work. So I saw all of this happen live in real time, right? And I said, after all of this happened and after Carson went out and said what he said, I said, watch this. Donald Trump is going to cite this as the reason why he didn't win Iowa. Now, here's something important to note about all of these different numbers in the Iowa caucuses. So Cruz opened up in the very beginning with a pretty noticeable lead ahead of Donald Trump. And as all of the counties began going in, and as you saw Cruz place first and Donald Trump placed second, or two place, I guess, as he would call it, and Marco Rubio placed third, and way after Marco Rubio, you could see Carson come in with a fourth place spot. When you watch the numbers come in, you could see whenever Donald Trump would lose a point, that's a point that Rubio would gain. Whenever Cruz would get a point, that's a point that Trump would lose. And Carson was not ever even a contender. He was not ever a serious contender. And all of this, it just seems completely unfounded. We have, and we're going to get into all of this, the timeline of all of this stuff that happened. I talked with Steve King about this yesterday, and quite honestly, I have words in the prompter, but I'm too actually pissed off to even read what's in the prompter, because I'm just done with this. This is a giant slap fight of a goat rodeo, and I really don't want to sit here and fillet the human equivalent of a Cheeto's ego so that we can sit here and mess around with the future of our country. And if it sounds like my words are harsh, get over it, because I thought we were celebrating political incorrectness. Or wait a minute, was that just a talking point for the Kardashian politicians' campaign? You want to see ignorant? I'll show you ignorant, right? People were surprised when I came out and said Trump wasn't my preference because I'm a professional and I do my job, and that's why you were surprised. I gave everybody a fair shot, but I'm at my limit. And honestly, if you're serious about the future of this country, you should be at your limit as well. Now, we just watched Ben Carson hold a press conference in Washington, D.C., and then minutes after, he was on Neil Cavuto, and he's asking for Ted Cruz to fire a campaign staffer over an error that one of Ben Carson's campaign aides made on their own. And I watched it happen in real time. I'm going to get into the Trump tweets in a minute, but I want to go ahead right now, and I want to throw up this timeline. Trevor Loudon had a really good, I've written about this extensively, Eric Erickson has written about this extensively. There was a piece at Business Insider, which when you look at the website, when you look at the tweets that came out, when Business Insider, in an article by Pamela Engel, when they first wrote about this whole Ben Carson is going to go home to Florida for some rest and relaxation, and I quote, according to his campaign, get some fresh clothes. Business Insider put it up as campaign suspension in their URL in the browser when you would go to the website. When you would look at the website, it said campaign suspension. It was an article written by Pamela Engel. It said Ben Carson's campaign on Monday night released a statement denying that the retired neurosurgeon was suspending his bid for the Republican presidential nomination. He was citing false media reports. This started with CNN, which began tweeting this stuff at about 5:04 p.m. I'm going off of Central Time, being that I'm in Dallas, and that's how I was watching all of this stuff unfold. By the time Steve King, who was there on stage later on with Ted Cruz and was at a completely different precinct location in a crowded, sweaty gym, caucusing with other individuals, including, by the way, Candy Carson. When he was there in the gymnasium, he noticed this a full hour and a half after CNN had already been tweeting it, after Chris Moody had already been tweeting it, after Ken Shepard had already been tweeting it, after Michael Smerconish had already been tweeting it, after Kaylee Kreider had already been tweeting it. Shall I go on? Because I am prepared to stand here all day long and go through this timeline tweet by tweet. We had all of these people with CNN tweeting this. Jake Tapper tweeted it as well. And then later on, Jake Tapper, responding to someone, said this came from the Carson campaign. There was also a video clip from CNN where they were saying, well, we don't know why Carson is going back to Florida instead of going directly to New Hampshire or South Carolina. That was the decision that the Carson campaign made. It was a poorly written statement that was cobbled together by some dipstick in his campaign, I guess because, again, like I said, they'd never heard of the word embargo, didn't know how to tell reporters about an embargo, and didn't understand that minutes after Mike Huckabee said he was dropping out of the race, when you announced that you were going to go back home for some R&R, spend time with family, attend the prayer breakfast instead, and not go directly to New Hampshire or South Carolina, and not give any details about whether or not you're still going to stay in the race, that everyone is going to make the educated assumption that you are, in fact, leaving the race. This was all over Twitter mere minutes after it appeared on CNN, which that report on the network, CNN, came after an hour of tweeting by CNN network talking heads. Are we clear? And then, and only then, did Steve King actually get up and tweet and say that he had heard that he thinks, he says Carson's not suspending, he had said Carson looks like he is out. Iowans need to know before they vote. Most will go to Cruz, I hope. It said looks like he is out. And by the way, I'm going to make this point as well. If, and again, we're celebrating political incorrectness, right? With all due respect, if you are so unbelievably stupid that when you hear someone, a political operative, get up on stage and say, oh, I hear your candidate's out. I hear your candidate's dropping out of a race. Maybe you should come caucus with us. And you don't go to verify it and you switch your vote over, you deserve to lose, and so does your candidate. That's idiotic. And I don't believe that people are that stupid. And furthermore, there is not a shred of evidence showing that a single person left the Carson group to go and caucus with Ted Cruz. Now, I know that we have a bunch of people throwing noodles at a wall to see what sticks, and they're saying, oh my gosh, he peeled votes away from Carson. Unfortunately, none of the numbers reflect that. And unfortunately, no proof has been offered. It's just platitude after platitude. In fact, it's exactly what Harry Reid did back during 2014 and 2012 when he would go after numerous Republican candidates with unsubstantiated rumors. So I guess we're going to go with the Harry Reid playbook? Is that what we're doing?